technical things that you guys will probably want to re-review. Okay. So I'm also going to share my screen with you guys. One moment. Let me know when you guys can see it.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, cool. So basically what I want to do is kind of run you through. We've done a lot of content stuff. Obviously, that was kind of obviously the main focus of the campaign. Getting through a lot of that technical stuff and then pushing into the content audit. I just want to, first of all, kind of like bring you up to speed on all of the massive spreadsheets that we sent you guys. And now start to kind of push you into the actual part of the campaign and explain exactly how you guys can do this. So as you guys know, everything is within your Google Drive folder here, mainly going to be in the deliverables folder here. So basically the first thing that we did off the back of that website quality audit, which was focused a little bit more on the technical things, was pulling through all of the blog posts, right? And I know you saw this, Fernando, and you had some questions about it. A lot of this stuff here, I think kind of the key thing to understand is that we share everything with you guys so you can see the work that we're doing. So we're not just disappearing for a month. But a lot of this stuff is not going to be overvaluable to you in terms of taking outputs from these files that we're doing, because a lot of this stuff, again, it's kind of like showing your work on a high school test. We just want to make sure that you're seeing the whole process along the way. And obviously, informing us if you have any questions or comments or concerns. So basically what we did within this content audit was we segmented it based on the site sections, right? So section 1, we focused on the CRM land posts. And what we're doing here in the specific content audit is just starting to go through and familiarize ourselves with these posts and start to take some initial notes, which you can see here in column B, which we then take and push to the next step, right? So this is the content audit. You guys are free to review that in detail, obviously. But what we then started doing is pushing them into your content workbook. So this is where we start to formulate new content topics. But again, first we're focusing on these low-hanging fruit posts, the CRM land posts. These are the ones that we all know have the most meat in terms of search value. So these are the ones that we focused on. So what we're doing in this also massive spreadsheet is transferring the ones that we're focusing on at that time from the content audit into here. And then we start to blow these out with more traditional SEO metrics. So basically in column D here, what you're seeing is the main keyword, right? Just kind of extracting that one keyword, not all the keywords, just that one keyword that we're going to focus the post around. Column E is traffic potential. So this is basically pulling from, we use Ahrefs to pull this. What we're just doing is looking at that main keyword and then the traffic potential. We don't look at search volume per se, because search volume is kind of it's a misleading metric, right? I mean, so basically the search volume for this one keyword is always going to be much, much higher, basically like 70% higher than what you're seeing here in the traffic potential. The traffic potential is referring to, it's taking into account all of the things like how many ads are on top of the post, like knowledge graphs, all the additional noise that comes into search now. It's basically looking at if we can rank you first for this, it's going to take that click-through rate and click modeling based on the search volume and spit back the traffic potential, right? So it's just more of it's a much more modest number to look at, but it's also just much more of a realistic number to look at.
Right. Is that an aggregate that you do?
This is just literally just pulled from Ahrefs. It's just a tool. We're taking just the main keyword. And also keep in mind too, is that ideally, and we'll talk about that when we kind of go through this workbook more, that's just one keyword, right? This traffic potential is not looking at the total traffic potential for the topic, because the way we look at keyword research is there's going to be a lot of keywords that you're going to pick up and rank for that we just can't track because we kind of don't know about them. So this is a metric that you can take it or leave it for. It's not the true traffic potential of that page. It's just the traffic potential for that main keyword, which we're trying to focus that post and the topic around.
Yep.
So then pillar and cluster, you guys have already done a good job of organizing your website. So the pillar is all just going to be CRM land. It's something that, is close to your brand. So we're not going to change that. But basically we just look at that as this CRM land is going to house anything actionable, anything really SEO focused regarding CRMs, and the topics surrounding that. The clusters then just kind of break off and kind of map to what the topic is. Again, these are more just organizational things. They don't really have any true SEO value. These are more for just organizational things. And again, what we're looking at the cluster here too is just to make sure that we're not overlapping topics, right? So in the future, when we start getting into new topic ideation and we look at more things around small business, we just want to make sure that we're not overlapping in regards to, organizational content on the website. So SERP intent, this is something that's a little bit confusing, but it's a concept that we've kind of developed internally. It's basically what this refers to is, so are you guys familiar with keyword intent at all?
Yeah.
Okay. So for context, what I think of when I think of keyword intent is basically looking at like looking at a keyword search like CRM versus buy CRM. If somebody or best CRM, whatever that may be, basically the keyword intent allows us to understand basically the type of content that we should create for that, right? Whereas what SERP intent does is we actually take that keyword and we go to Google, the actual just manually go into Google, and we read and understand what Google is telling us should be ranking. So keyword intent is important. That kind of tells us like what stage in the journey people are at, whether they're informational, transactional, et cetera, right? But what SERP intent tells us is how should we build and format that content based on what Google's algorithm is telling us. So what that means is that Google is reading kind of between the lines based on user behavior. So when somebody's searching for something, like if they're searching for best CRM, and the users keep on scrolling down to either the second page or the bottom of page one, and they're clicking on best free CRMs. Basically what that tells us is that Google is starting to read the intent that, this is just an example, not an actual, that if somebody's searching for best CRM, what they're actually looking for is the best free CRM because of all the click behavior that's pushing that result up. So basically what that means is that keyword research and keyword intent, if you don't take it one step further and you're just building your content based on, hey, this is an informational or transactional post, for you guys, it's almost always going to be informational. But you can basically never rank for a given keyword if you don't take that intent step one further. So basically what we do is we just call it focused or mixed. Focused meaning that all the search result types are pretty much the same. And then we know that, okay, all the posts are ranking all are about like roundups, like 12 best CRMs, 10 best CRMs. That's a focused SERP result. We know to then map the content that we want to create for you guys back to that exactly. Whereas if it's mixed, what we want to do is we want to take it one step further and try and, again, read in between the lines. Because a lot of times what that happens is that if it's a focused SERP result, what that tells us is that the searcher knows exactly what they're looking for. They want to see a roundup or a review, blah, blah, blah. If it's mixed, so if you have like a Wikipedia article, if you have a roundup article, if you've got, all these different result types, then again, we have to take it one step further to try and like read in between the lines about what type of content that we should create. And basically, if you go over here into the notes section, what you can see, so like right here, let me zoom in here. I'll just highlight this in yellow so you guys can see it, is that we're literally just going through and we're counting out the type of SERP results. It's a very manual, very tedious process, but it really helps us to understand, again, mapping that back to the type of content that we want to create. So for all these things, you can just kind of see that the SERP result type here was 5 product pages, 3 articles about best, 3 articles about top. And this is all about open source CRM, right?
Right.
So we then take that and feed that back into, after the number 1, the SERP intent, but then number 2, the page type. So again, for you guys, it's pretty much almost exclusively going to be blog posts, unless you guys decide that you want to start getting on camera and shooting some videos. Then these are pretty much all going to be blog posts.
2020.
I would love to see it out of you guys. I'd love to see it out of you. And then content tactic, what this refers to, and I can send you also, I'll follow up with an email with kind of more information on this stuff too. Content tactic then refers to specifically, if it's a blog post or if it's a video, what type of basically page are we going to create? So a curated roundup is going to be things like, 12 best open source CRMs. Some people call them listicles. We call them curated roundups. A comparison guide, that could be something like HubSpot versus Pipedrive, right? An expert guide is basically just a way of saying that this is going to be an expert written guide about one topic. So like if you go into detail about Pipedrive specifically, then that would be an expert guide, right? Expert roundup could be kind of cool for you guys if we're going out, and that would be something like going out and finding like CRM experts like on Twitter or something like that, asking their opinion, and then rounding those up into like, 12 CRM experts give us their top CRM. Gated content just refers to like if you guys have a tool or an ebook or something like that, then you build a page around that. A graphic is like an infographic or just an image. So you guys also have hub and spoke posts broken out. I want to explain that real quick. So a hub post is basically going to be something like your what is CRM post, a huge hub, which then internally links down to what we call spoke posts. A spoke post being like analytical CRM, anything that would support that hub post. And we've got examples of that when I show you the next stage of this. Interviews, self-explanatory, short post, short video, spoke posts, I just mentioned that, template, tool, and webinar, all pretty much self-explanatory. So for the most part, just going through what you guys already have, most of these are either spoke posts, expert guides, or curated roundups. And we have examples of what those looks like when we start getting into the content outlines. Do you guys have any questions on that so far?
You said that you'll probably send an email like detailing what each type of these tactics are, just so that we can reference it. Awesome.
Yep. I've got linked examples for all those.
Cool.
So framing keywords. So this is another kind of like internal concept that we've developed. So a lot of people, what they'll do is do like secondary keyword research. So like again, for best free CRM software, people would do secondary keywords to find like alternative keywords. So example of that too could be something like this. So if I just take the root keyword here, I go to Google, I type it in.
Mm-hmm.
Let it load for a second. So there's a couple of ways that people could find like quote unquote secondary keywords. So this is just a plugin that I use called Keywords Everywhere. So these would be like secondary keywords. What this is pulling back kind of like related search terms. That's good and great. We still do that. But what we actually try to focus on is what we call framing keywords. Keywords might actually be a bad nomenclature here. It just kind of helps my team to understand kind of what these are about. But basically what this means is this is starting to build out kind of like the skeleton of what the post should look like, right? Mm-hmm. So framing the post based on what the keywords are, again, which I'll show you a little bit more in practice. And then over here, the notes, again, these are mostly transferred from the content audit, and then we're kind of updating these as we're going along throughout this process. And then the final column over here, this is going to link to the page level recommendations, which I'm going to talk in very much so detail about. So do you guys have any questions on this file?
No, I think you covered it pretty well so far.
Okay, great. So just also for more context, we'll be continuously updating this file. Again, this is more of a tracking file for you guys. I'll show how this can feed into a content calendar for you when I'm done. But make sure that your writers are not working off of this file, because these notes in these framing keywords here, these aren't really the final version. The final versions are in the page level recommendations that I'm going to show you right now. That's an important note because, again, we open all this stuff up to our clients so you guys can see the process. You can see how much work goes into it. But the final result here, so in your deliverables folder here, I'm just in deliverables in crm.org, page level recommendations. So these are the ones that we're working on in here, and then the completed ones here, which you guys have access to. So right now I have 6 that are done for you guys, and I can just open one of them up, and I want to review probably half of these with you in detail, and then let you ask any questions on these. So let's load. Computer always runs super slow when I'm on Zoom. Give me a moment here, I'm going to zoom in. Okay, so I'm just going to run you through this. Fernando, I know you asked about the video. I'm going to kind of use this session as kind of the video. I can re-record something else specifically for you guys if you want, but I'll usually use like these calls and link to this within the document for people who, if you're like passing this to a new writer, for them to have context on what it is that they need to do. So each one of these is dedicated to, again, one of these lines in here, which right now, again, we're focused on updating existing topics. In the coming months, we'll be obviously generating new content topics for you. So this stuff up here, the draft due date and the publish date, these are really for you guys to fill in, to kind of like work with your writers. We're just giving you a space to do that just for kind of project management. The word count, I'll show you where we're getting this from, but this is our recommended word count for the article. And again, these aren't necessarily for you guys. These are going to be for the writers. So just to kind of make it easier for them, just giving them some brand details. And you're also, welcome to add on to this. We haven't done your persona research yet. We're going to do that as a part of the content strategy. But again, like for me, going through client work for 10 years now, I always like to give my clients something actionable to do in the first month so you guys can start working on this stuff while we flesh out the other stuff. You guys also do have a really good concept of who your target audience is. So it's not overly important to do this. So again, you guys can kind of fill this out more if you wanted to, but if you're working with new writers, this just kind of helps to give context about your brand, link to your blog just so they can kind of see what past posts. So here now we're getting into article details. So this is the page type. So again, this maps to what I was just referring to here in terms of page type and content tactic, right? And then, so this page here, this is the analytical CRM software post. This is a spoke topic. And then this just goes into detail again, kind of what I just said, talks about the hub post, talks about the spoke post, and then gives you here what your spoke post is, which is the what is CRM, and then instructing the writer to make sure to link internally to the analytical CRM post, right? Because that's the spoke coming off the back of it. And then again, here we've got a link to what a hub and spoke post look like. So this is the page title. We've gone through and we've written that and the meta description for you guys just based on kind of our research and what we think works. Preferred URL, you guys have done a really good job with this stuff already. So it's not, we don't recommend changing any URLs. This is kind of just easier for when we're creating new stuff. So this then is transferring those framing keywords. It's cleaned up a little bit here more. I'm going to show you this blown out in 1 second. This could kind of be construed as a very crude outline for an article. Just going to keep scrolling down a little bit more. You're obviously free to read these things here, but I've highlighted all these in yellow because this really is probably the most important part it is the most important part of what we're going to do. So you guys have access to this tool. It's called ClearScope, really awesome tool. So basically what we've done is for each one of these, we've gone ahead and we've written really specific and detailed outlines that we then want I would prefer that your writers write directly into ClearScope, and I'm going to show you why in a second. So basically what these are, this is basically a very detailed outline that just kind of lets you guys fill in the blanks with your writers here and expand using your knowledge that we don't have about CRMs and the intricacies and stuff like that to basically plug right into this tool, and it's going to help you optimize the content as you go. So you guys also have really good content as it is. So I encourage you guys to use your existing content. So you don't have to waste too many resources writing new content. What we've really done is just try to better structure these for search. Right. And while this topic is on my mind, like the main takeaways that I have from all this data analysis and looking at your website is a few things. Number one is you need to be using media much, much more. This is, especially when we're talking about specific platforms, like you should always have at least one image of that CRM, and like the more context that you can give, the better, right? Not only is it going to rank better, but what that's going to do is it's going to help increase stickiness on posts, because basically in crudely speaking, there's 3 types of ways to consume content. There's audio. So if you have a podcast, that's great. There's video, if you are doing video versions of this, and there's reading. Within reading, that's probably only a third of consumption. Within reading, we want to make sure that we're maximizing eyeballs on that because that's the only form of content that we have. What we want to make sure that we're doing is we're building it both for long form consumption and for skimmers. So for skimmers, that means we want to make sure that we have media and usage. Again, the goal isn't always, especially with your website, because you don't have necessarily a clearly defined call to action quite yet. It's consumption, and it's making sure that people are consuming the content, right? So like myself, I don't read very well. I'm an audio and a visual person. And when I read an article, I skim it consistently. And if I come to a website that doesn't have images and it doesn't have proper use of subheadings, then I'm pretty much going to bounce every time, right? So adding in that media, adding in those images, letting me see what Pipedrive looks like, letting me see what HubSpot looks like, is going to go a long way to help me consume that content a lot better. So that's the use of media. The other one is the use of subheadings. So what we've done is we've taken the keyword research, we've taken those framing keywords, and we've built out the subheadings. And these are all up here. If you just click up here, you can see whether they're H2s, H3s, etc. This translates exactly into WordPress, which is awesome for you guys. I've also made some notes here. I'll show you guys the WordPress plugins. I've already taken care of that for you guys at the end, but just made some notes there. Yeah. Sorry.
We have Drupal.
Oh, you have Drupal. Damn it. That's right.
That's the usual response.
I forgot that. Okay. Well, I still have them for you. Damn it. I knew that.
What was the plugin for?
For table of contents. Because you guys, looks like you've probably like hand coded them HTML on your
Yeah.
into those posts.
Yeah.
Table of
Ask
contents.
the developers to look for an
Yeah.
actual table of
Okay.
contents.
Yeah, and I mean, either way, I'll show you the 3 plugins that I recommended, and maybe you guys can see if your developer can find something similar for Drupal. Damn it. Okay, not a big deal. Anyways, point is that the table of contents are important, especially when we're getting into. So this is a spoke post, but when we're getting into the roundup post, which I'll show you in a second, these table of contents really go a long way to helping people. Also, search engines, because if you have a post about 12 best free CRM softwares, Google's going to read and show those little site links if you have those table of contents set up. And the way that you guys have it now, it's really small. It's not overly user friendly. You guys probably already know this. So okay. So this is the outline. Again, what we've done is we've gone through. Actually, let me just. No, it's okay. We've gone through and we've written the headlines for you. I strongly suggest that you guys keep the headlines as they are because they're optimized for search. I've gone through and broken down a lot of these into like H3. So for example, the way that you guys have written these on your website now is you've kind of just written them in paragraph text, which is cool. But it's just going to rank a lot better if they're broken up by subheadings and then organized accordingly. So basically all your writers would do is come in here and just kind of, again, put in the detail here, which a lot of you guys already have on your post. So a lot of it would just be kind of like transferring content. But the really cool thing about this tool is over here. So what this over here is doing is it's saying, okay, for the topic analytical CRM, what it's done is it's gone through and it's scraped a lot of basically the top 20 results in Google and pulled back all of the most relevant keyword usages and how often it's used. So you don't have to use these one-to-one, but it's highly helpful to do so. So when your writers are writing this is why I suggest that they write directly in here, because then they can go through and at the end, they can basically just do like word replacement. So it's not like keyword stuffing. It's not like that. It's just more of, again, like framing things better for search. And just instead of using, you can just, instead of using, for example, this is a very easy example. Instead of using CRM, you can just type in customer relationship management 1 to 3 times instead to just help build more of a semantic post. And again, these are listed in order of importance, but you can also just go to unused. So you can just see which ones you haven't used yet.
Okay, yeah, this is really similar to the SEMrush.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called, but yeah.
Yep, very similar. So that's this post. You guys have any questions on that?
Not at the moment. No, it's
okay.
Pretty cool, actually. Clear scope.
Okay. Yeah, it's a really, really, really awesome tool. Yeah. And then down here too, these notes are just kind of these are basically the final version of the notes per post. So a lot of we've spoken about this already, but like this is just kind of a reminder. Like you guys have been using a lot of external links in your posts. So like this just says a paragraph should not have more than 1 external link. Like you don't need, if we're talking about Zoho, you don't need to link to Zoho 5 times, right? And I'll show you kind of how we formatted that in other posts, so it's easier to follow. And then if needed to, these are just more sources. I don't think you guys will need them. Again, this is more for just kind of like context for writers. If you guys want to really heavily scale to bring in new writers, to just kind of give them more of a framework.
That's awesome.
So that's that post. Now I want to talk about another one here. Let's talk about, this is a good one. Best CRM for small business. Just open this up, let it load for a second. A little bit. Okay. So this is an example of one of the curated roundups. So what I've done here is I've linked to an example. Actually, wish I would have linked to one of my posts. But just for context for what a curated roundup looks like. So this one is just 15 best CRM systems. Just open that link and let it load so we can look at it in a second. Again, all very similar. Same post here. This should actually be 2020. That's the other thing too, is that dates work really well for a lot of these posts because people are in this space. We found that people are definitely searching for dates. but it's really important. Actually, I don't think I put it in this one, but I put in one of them in the notes that like literally put it in your calendar, like your Google, whatever you use to manage your personal time, on like the 1st of January to go through your website and anything that's titled 2019 to make sure to update to 2020. It's really important because right away those pages will start to decay if they're not updated. So a lot of these, I just have them for, like this is best CRM for small business 2020. Whenever you see this XX2, this is important. What that means is that's just a placeholder. So that's just based on, you're going to update that based on however many small business CRMs that you guys end up reviewing.
Right.
So again, framing keywords, very crude outline. And then let me just open up the content optimizer here. These are notes. Yeah, I did put it in here. Yeah, I wrote this in big bold. Make sure to update your 2019 to 2020 when the year changes. So you could leave this as 2019 if you want, because we do have 2 more months. But I'm assuming by the time this gets published, it's probably just worth it to just make it 2020.
Yeah.
So let's look at this one. Okay. So again, just pretty much you can use the same intros. Again, I like your writing styles. I think they're all good. These are just kind of more placeholders. This one just goes into why your small business needs CRM, benefits using CRM software, things to look for. And again, these are just kind of already broken out for you. Again, this is all based on keyword research and any of these things that we've kind of jammed in here. And then this goes into the actual kind of like listicle roundup. So the best CRM for small business, both free and paid. This is important because you guys have a lot of this on your website. This is just like general best practices. That's why I linked to this post here. I actually don't love this post, but what they've done is a good job of, number one is like breaking these out, clear headers, number one, Salesforce CRM, big screenshot here. You can see how helpful this is. And then, just a little bit more information here. I'm actually going to show you a better example on my website of a SEO tool stack. Okay. Of what a better roundup looks like, and I'll show you why. But basically, the important things in here, and this is also really important, I just want to cover this. So the H2 is always going to be the brand name. So whenever we're doing a roundup, you keep it consistent with the H2 being like HubSpot or, this should be Copper, not Cooper. Copper or Nimble, Zoho, et cetera, right? Always add a relevant image. So what we've done here is built you basically the template for what each one of these will look like. So these are the ones that I believe you already have within this post. Basically, you just need to reformat it to be like 1, Salesforce, 2, HubSpot, 3, Microsoft, et cetera. And then even more importantly within that, the formatting should always be a relevant image, preferably like a dashboard screenshot if possible, or anything relevant that's going to help the user see what the tool looks like. 2 would be benefits. After that would be drawbacks. After that would be reviews. So like you can go to Capterra, you can go to G2 Crowd, you can grab actual reviews from people, maybe even take a screenshot of what those look like and put those in. Pricing is always really important. And then at the end, you put a link to the CRM. So instead of linking, like what you guys have done is kind of like list these out, like you've been, best CRM for small business, then written a big paragraph of text, and then they're all just kind of flowing through like a traditional book would. And then you've linked out a bunch of different times. It's just pulling attention away too many times. This is just a very easy way to focus attention. Sorry, go ahead.
So I understand that the brand name would be the H2, and then are these bullet points reflective of H3s, or do they just have to be formatted in that way?
So I'm going to leave that up to you. I don't think they have to be H3s because, they could be, like benefits and drawbacks could be. I'm going to show you one of my posts now that performs really, really well for us. So this is about like essential SEO tools that people need, right? And I do a lot of these roundups because number one, they rank really well. Number two is that they play really well both for SEO and for social promotions. Like people on Facebook would much rather click on something that's like 13 tools as opposed to like the complete guide to tools, blah, 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 right? So this is just a table of contents plugin. You can just see how it makes it super easy. I always make videos. Again, you guys don't have to. Short intro here, like little call to action here. And then this goes into the SEO tools, right? So you can see how it's always H2, tag name, just a basic description about it, benefits, blah, blah, blah. A couple of screenshots of the actual platform that, again, really go through it. And then what I've done here to answer your question is I didn't make these H3s. I just made them bolded. That's like link, cost, and then other alternatives. right? So like, it just kind of, you can just see how this reads very simply, very smoothly. The information is broken up. I'm using images also to break up the text, and then just continuously push people down the page, going through, et cetera, et cetera. And then just keeping it consistent the whole way down too. To me, that makes, again, it's a much easier way to consume the content.
Yeah. So there's no like, that's good to know that we don't have to use H3s to like for SEO reasons. Like it's the H3 that's most important, and then after that, as long as it's just formatted well, it's
correct. Yeah, correct. And you guys are all creatives. I think that you can come up with your own styling and format based on what you guys want the website to look and function like. Yeah. I'm just giving you my input from a search point of view, but also from a user point of view of how I prefer to read content and just what works well for me in the past. Yeah. Okay, so that's that post.
For the reviews, taking it from Capterra or something like that, is will they be pissed at us, or what's the?
So what I would do is so just kind of looking at like the rough outline here. These are all like, so think about it this way: if somebody's searching for Salesforce CRM. Like when I was talking about secondary and framing keywords, I'm always thinking and using the data, like what else are they searching for to support that search about HubSpot CRM, right? Benefits, drawbacks, reviews, pricing. Like those are like the main kind of like supporting keywords that would support that main search, which also open up the opportunity if the post is authoritative enough, not only to rank for the main keyword up here, which is CRM for small business, but potentially even some of these branded keywords, right? And like reviews and stuff like that. So what I would not do is like go through and just rip exact reviews. The better way to do it would be to take a screenshot and just kind of like upload that as an image. The main thing here is just to make sure that you've got like the keyword and kind of like subheading of reviews of like HubSpot reviews on there, you know? And then what I would also recommend too is I would then externally link to the Capterra or the G2 Crowd page that you pulled it from, so people can find more. You know, that's how you should be using external links is more of a, which you guys already know because I've seen you doing it. It's a citation purpose, but you don't need to link to the same site more than once. You just want to focus where you're using that link. That's why it's good down here too. I also personally think it's better for the user to let them consume the content and then let them decide if they want to visit the website. Because if you link too many times externally, then people might think that link is critical for them to consume that content. When really, if for the context, this is why like context and intent is so important, because the context and intent behind somebody looking for the best CRM for small businesses is they're pretty deep in the funnel. They want to sign up for it. So like they don't really need anything else except for that one sign up link after they've decided which one of the best free CRMs that they want to, or small business CRMs that they want to go with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we could just, one more question about the reviews. We could link out, put that image, but we could do whatever we want there. We could say like Trustpilot gives this one
exactly
5 out of 5. Mm-hmm. And on this one, it comes from another site. We could say whatever we want. Like even they have a really good Glassdoor.
Yep, you could. And again, that's
the intent. It's just what you're saying. It's got to be in there because it's the path that they're on in the research. Like they're going to want to see something about justifying like that reviews gives them.
Exactly. That's well put. And again, that I want to leave that up to you guys to decide which kind of format you want to do. And the more of these that you do, the easier that it gets to kind of like, once you've got this format built, you can scale out these posts a lot better. So for example, that was best CRM. This one is best free CRM. It's pretty much going to be the same format, right? Except we're just talking about a different topic. Same thing, curated roundup. I mean, I'm not even going to go through it because it's, I think you guys are already getting the point, but it's the same thing, right? It's brand name. You know what I also like too? We in the plugins, I'll just talk about it now. The plugins that I added in, like one of the things that we found is that a lot of the posts that are ranking really, really well, also just deriving more intent, is that people are looking for comparisons, right? So like if you're able to put, I'll just kind of show you the plugins. So I recommended 3 WordPress plugins for you guys. Number 1 was the table of contents. If you can get something in there that will automatically generate table of contents based on subheadings, that'll just save you a lot of time. It'll also go a long way to helping you just perform better. Number two is getting some sort of table generator. So like HTML table generator. The reason why, so there's a folder in here, just FYI, called plugins. They're uploaded. Obviously, you can't use them, but TablePress is what I recommend, because what it does is it adds in an HTML table that you could then basically summarize it to. So like at the end of the post, the very end of the post, what we have in here, just laid out for you guys, is to put in basically like just a table list of all of the CRMs that you spoke about. Maybe like one benefit, one drawback, like Capterra reviews. That would be the heading, like Capterra reviews. You could be like 5 stars, and then like the last one, or then price, and then link to the software again from there. So you could have one HTML table. And again, Google loves that, because when you see, so like the way that you can then rank for, if you type in best free CRMs and you see that knowledge graph up top, that's taking up basically the whole search. Google reads HTML tables and will push that up there for you. Does that make sense? So having these kind of like markups on the page really help with searchers to, like, again, for skimmability purposes, if they don't want to read a 4,000 word article about the best free CRMs, they can just use that table of contents, go all the way down to the bottom, consume that, they're good. And then Google can also index and rank that and get you all the way to the top very quickly. And that's when you can really start to dominate. So number one, like I said, for WordPress plugins is the easy table of contents. Number two is TablePress, which is just an HTML table builder. I'm just going to rename these for you guys. So this would be like HTML table builder. And then the last one here, this is actually the plugin that we built. This is it's called Capture and Convert. Basically what it does, it allows you to just add in call to action forms across your website. Because I want you guys to start thinking about either developing like an ebook, something that we can start to pull. You guys have that call to action all the way at the bottom. But what I would love to do is get you guys to start collecting email addresses at a much more aggressive rate. And this plugin helps you to basically inject forms within your blog post, or add in like a little floating widget on the side. And if you guys ever convert to WordPress, then you guys have free lifetime access to it. But I'm sure Drupal has something too. Again, I just thinking a couple steps ahead, I do want to make sure that as your traffic picks up, that you're getting something that you can turn into monetary value down the line. Quickly. So are you guys good with these? The rest of these outlines are pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions?
No. Right now you said there's about 6.
There's 6, yeah, and we have 7 more that we're working on this week to get you guys to. One final thing. So do you guys have a content calendar?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So this, you can just take it or leave it. It's in your content workbook. Basically, we built this file to automatically just pull through and turn it into kind of like a content calendar. If you guys have this tracked, that's fine. This is just something that we can provide for you as well. But it's also helpful for us too, just as you guys write and update this stuff, just let us know so we can update our calendar on our end. Because basically, going into the next steps here, I'm just going to pull up your project management file. Just filter you guys here. So right now I have our analytics guy working on just an analytics audit, just to kind of come up with maybe some different ways that we can start to track some things like page time, just to start coming up with some alternative KPIs. If you guys also have any thoughts on some things that you'd want to track, let me know and we can get that installed for you. So this is the page level recommendations. We owe you 17 of them for the existing ones for CRM land. Like I said, we're still working through these. We'll get you those at the end of the week. And then the next thing, the reason why I wanted to pull this up was just to show you this campaign target pages. So this campaign target pages, basically what this is it's saying, it's kind of like our next steps for the beginning phases of the seeds of link building, right? These are basically the target pages that we're saying these are the most important pages on the website. These are the ones that we're going to be tracking intently. These are also the ones that we want to start feeding to link building. After going through this too, I want to move link building up on your calendar. I want to start link building this coming month, specifically for these posts. Again, like it's coming out of your pocket. So I'm glad you give me the thumbs up, because these are just going to be additional expenses for you guys. I don't make any money off of it, unfortunately, but I have no problem giving you guys the hours up front, because, obviously the sooner we get these pages updated, the sooner we can build links to them, the sooner you guys are going to start seeing traffic. And that's, obviously that's why we're here. So We'll get you that target pages the end of next month. Actually, your month today is the start of month 2 for you guys. So I'll get you guys also a monthly report that'll have. We're actually kind of starting to build that out for you guys. We're waiting for this analytics audit to get done so we can track some important KPIs for you guys. But you guys, yeah, please.
Tag manager.
Yep.
We need to replace the tag manager with the Google Analytics, but keep the GA code. Is that?
You need repeat that. You need a new GTM tag.
Yeah, the developer was mentioning something about taking out the Google Analytics code, but putting the GTM code with our account number. Does that sound about right? Or
I will have to look at that.
Okay. Otherwise, you get duplicates if you have both.
Do I have access to your GTM account? I should, right? Let me just double check here.
Oh, we could email later. It was just a question that I had.
Okay, yeah, I mean, we'll take a look at it. That's part of what we're looking at. I believe I have it. Yeah, I do have access to it. We'll take a deeper look at it. But let me just check your tags real quick. Okay, I know what's happening is that your Google Analytics tag is hard coded into the website. You need to migrate it into GTM, which we can do for you.
Okay.
And then basically once, or maybe your developer should do it, because then basically what he's saying is that if you have it on the website and in GTM, then it's going to double fire and it's not going to work. So as soon as you put it into GTM, you just need to make sure that you remove the hard coded code from the website.
Okay.
Everything should be put in through GTM, because that allows you to not have to work with your developer, which is great.
Okay.
Cool. Awesome. You guys have any more questions for me? This was productive.
No, this is great. I have to get going, but it was a pleasure to meet you, and this looks awesome. It's already super helpful to see.
You as well. Sorry, I didn't catch your name.
I'm Jenny.
Nice to meet you, Jenny.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, great. I'm going to follow up with an email too. I'm going to send you guys this recording so you can have this. I'm just going to upload it. And yeah, we'll be in touch via email.
Sweet. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Bye, guys.